Greetings, everybody. Greetings and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Mat. I'm your host, Brother Calvin Muhammad. And again, if this is your first time tuning in to Beyond the Mat, let us give you a little background on why we have this platform and what we're doing today. Of course, you all aware of the National Training Corp. This is our 26th year in action. And of course, our national trainer in the Nation of Islam is our brother, none other than Grandmaster Abdul Aziz Muhammad. Who has been inspired to make sure not only that we have the national training event every single year, but he wants to make sure that we stay plugged in and continue to offer information to the public as instructed by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on things that will be useful to our people. And so one of the things that he directed me to do is to make sure to come before the people on a weekly basis so that you can hear from some of the presenters and you can hear on some of the subject matter that's critical with the national training. And along with that, we want to bring to you subject matter experts, people who can provide real life experience to some of the critical topics that we train to in the national trainer. And that brings us to today. I am honored and I have the privilege of having a conversation with a brother who I think very highly of. I mean, this brother is a genuine brother. And if you ever had an opportunity to interact with him one-on-one, and you'll know by the end of this interview how genuine this brother is, and you can see the smile on his face. I've never seen him other than that. He's a brother here in the Kansas City area, and he wears many hats. He, of course, is the president here of the National Black United Front, the Kansas City chapter, which we work very closely with. But another one of his hats is he is a firefighter. And this brother is going to bring a wealth of information on critical aspects that we should all be aware of when it comes to fire safety and other things that are very important for everyone who's tuned in, listening, and watching. I have the privilege of having a conversation today with my brother, Brother Talib Muwwakkil. How you doing, my brother?
I'm doing good, brother. Thank you so much for that amazing introduction.
Oh man, I still don't think I did you justice, my brother. I don't think I did you justice.
I'm humble. I'm humble.
and for those of you all, if you're watching and listening, he's actually at the firehouse right now. So you know how that job is. So you know things can pop off at any minute. So I'm grateful that he took time off of a very critical position and very critical duties just to have this conversation with the National Training Corp. And so I'm honored that you would spend this time with us, brother. And we're gonna try not to take you away from your duties too much. And so I'm gonna get right into it, my brother. If you don't mind, tell us where you're currently a firefighter and how long you've been doing that.
So I'm currently working in Lawrence, Kansas. I work on the east side of Lawrence, Kansas at my Station 2. I've been here since I got hired March 25th of 2013. And but I've been in the field since 2011. I worked at a lot of places. I worked on the ambulance in Raytown. I worked at Smithville Fire Department, West Cass County Fire Department. I worked at Truman ER. I worked in cardiology. The hospital escapes my name in Independence right now. So I've worked all over the place. So yeah. So
well, it's safe to say that you are definitely qualified to do what you're doing, my brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That was my goal. That was my goal, to get a wealth of experience in a short amount of time.
Now speaking of that, what type of training did it take for you to call yourself a firefighter? How long was it? What type of subjects did you have to go through?
That's a great question. My journey was different. I kind of got off track, but if one was to stay on track, you could have everything done in a year. So if one wanted to, one could decide to go to the Fire Academy. And the Fire Academy is held at usually community colleges and sometimes private fire departments hold classes. So you just, you Google it and you'll find it. And that's usually about a 6-month process with your EMS experience. I separated mine because I wanted to focus on the fire side, and then after that, I wanted to focus on the EMS side. And for those who don't know, EMS is emergency medical services, which gives you the ability to ride and work on the ambulance.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I thank you for answering that. I like how you casually said, if you stick with it, it'll take you about a year. I had jobs, my orientation was 2 weeks. So, so it must be real comprehensive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, you can definitely get it done. You definitely can get it done. And I actually encourage a lot of our people to get into the field. We are not represented enough in this field. So I every time I see somebody, I'm always encouraged, brothers and sisters, absolute sisters, to join the field. So.
That's good. That's excellent. Now you speak of joining the field. Now what people, when you go through training like you did, is it just they give you a hose and tell you to squirt it at the fire? I mean, what are the things in depth that they train you for?
So it actually is a lot more in depth. When I went into it, I was like, oh wow, there's a lot of information. So it's very scientific. You learn how to read smoke. You can look at the smoke and tell what's burning. You learn water science about water, whether a solid amount of water would be best for a fire versus a more widespread pattern. You learn about the different types of fires. We learn about fire investigation. We learn about fire salvage and overhaul. That's after the fire. So after a fire, we want to go in and make sure that the fire doesn't continue to spread. We also want to make sure that we can salvage any type of belongings that the homeowner has. So we don't want to go in. Our goal isn't to go in and damage the house. I know a lot of people, the fire department has gotten that bad reputation, and I know some do that. But I know, myself, when I go on calls, I try not to, treat people's belongings that way. People, a home is a home, and I try to treat everybody's home like mine. So so there's all kind of, it is very extensive as far as science goes. I enjoy science. So if a person does love science, I think it would be a great field for you.
That's beautiful. And then you had another side to that training. You mentioned working in hospitals and whatnot. You mentioned EMS training. What does that entail?
So that was my part where I was very apprehensive, because I knew how I knew the information that I'd be dealing with and how difficult it would be to learn the information. So you have to learn the human anatomy. You have to learn physiology, and physiology is what's going wrong in the body. So you have to learn what the body is normally doing in order to learn what the body should not be doing. And then you have to learn how to fix that, and the signs to look for, and the medications to give to correct those issues. So that was a lot more intense than the fire side. The fire side was a lot more hands-on than EMS side. I would say that the EMS side was a lot more academic based. I spent a lot of hours studying, but yeah, so that's what that looks like.
That's beautiful. And I think with the national training, there's certain information that we want to put in front of people. And there's certain things that we feel like everyone should know. And, when we talk about fires, I was reading some articles early about the amount of people killed on a yearly basis due to fires. And ironically enough, I noticed that the Black community is disproportionately represented in that number, along with elders and children, some of the most vulnerable people who get caught up in fires. Let me ask you this, because fire is one of those things that you get a home or you go to work. It's not something that's normally on our heads, but is really deadly. And once it's going, it's something that, it's too late to learn about. And so being a firefighter, especially talking to the Black community, what would you say, well, first of all, let's clear up some misconceptions. Some people believe, if they have a fire, if they see a fire, fires in their home, just dump water on it. What advice would you give someone who knows that there's a fire in their home and suspects it? What are some of the steps that you would suggest that they take?
So my first thing would be prevention, because if we can prevent it, then we don't have to worry about the fire. So learning safe fire practices. Myself, I keep a fire extinguisher in the home. My whole family knows how to use it. We have a fire escape plan. If there is a fire, all my children know what to do. They all have responsibilities. So after that, also don't leave burners going unwatched. We all love our incense. Be careful with our incense. We love candles. Be careful with our candles. Blow that stuff out. We want to make sure that stuff is watched. Another thing, when we're cooking, make sure that we have the handles not off of the stove. If you know what I mean, turn those pots inside the stove so that way you can't hit it and knock something over. So prevention I would say is a big part. But after that, also knowing that there are different types of fires. So water doesn't fix all fires, and I'm specifically talking about grease fires. For those who like to fry, if there is a fire, a grease fire, do not dump water on it. It will intensify and it will absolutely make it worse, and you may hurt yourself. So if you feel like you can get it out, dump flour on it. The best job is to smother it. So you want to remove the oxygen from it. So whatever you can do, if you have that ability without hurting yourself. And if you don't, then you have to call 911 and get everybody out, because you have to know that those things are replaceable and you are not. So there's a point where you have to make the decision. Can I safely put this fire out without harming myself or anybody else in the house? So absolutely get you smoke detectors. Make sure we got smoke detectors. Smoke detectors.
Say that again, brother.
Smoke detectors, they actually save lives. We run it all the time. Make sure you change the batteries. Make sure you're actually checking them. CO detectors. This stuff actually helps. And I'm a witness. I see it all the time. So we want to prevent these things from happening. So.
I remember I had to take some trade courses, and I took an HVAC course, and part of the HVAC was going over fire. And I also was a security officer, so they have some fire training that they have. One of the things that stunned me, if I can ask you to talk about, is there's a misconception for people that when you go to sleep that if a fire starts, you'll smell it or something like that, and you'll have time to get out. Can you talk about the anatomy of fires and how quickly they can actually spread?
Absolutely. So a fire doubles every second.
Wait, did you say double?
Doubles every second. Double. Fire. And of course, it depends on what it's around. So if it's in a kitchen, we have wood countertops, we have wood cabinets. It's going to spread there. Depending on where it is. Now, if you have an all ceramic and stainless steel, that may be okay. That won't burn. That stuff doesn't catch on fire. It will get smoke damage, but it won't burn. Now, if it's wood, like most of us have wood cabinets, that stuff will burn very fast. So you will not, without a smoke detector and you fall asleep, there's not a lot of chance that you will wake up. And if you do wake up, by the time you smell the smoke, it may be too late. Because to think about it, if it starts in your kitchen and your bedroom's in the back of the house, you have to think about how much smoke and how much fire has to be produced for that before that smoke reaches your bedroom.
Mm.
Um, and I guess you have to think of a smoke like it takes up place. So if it will feel, and the more it feels up, it's going to push down. So, I'm sure most people have heard, you get down low, the clean air is down low. It is down low because it's called the smoke banking. So it'll feel from the ceiling. Of course, we all know fire rises. So it feel from the ceiling, it fills the room, and it just keeps pushing down and down and down. And so depending on, you wake up in the middle of the night, and if you stand up and you're in complete darkness, you know that fire has been going for a while. You just need to get low. And if you can get out through a door, know your windows. Make sure you are able to get to your family. Make sure you have that plan. That's why that comes in play. So yeah, I hope that answered it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. These things are very intriguing. Like when you talk about smoke banking, and alarmingly, when you said that a fire doubles every second, that's the first time I've heard that. But it's kind of frightening. And when you think about it, you talked about the smoke. It's unfortunate, and I'm sure it's been unfortunate situations where you may have encountered. But let me ask you to talk about this. So if I'm upstairs in my house and a fire breaks out downstairs, and say I've been living in this house 30 years, I can go, if the lights are out, I can move freely. What is it or for people who've been in their house for years and they have a fire and they don't make it out? What are some of the causes of that? They know this house. What happens?
So that's a really good question, Brother Muhammad. So a couple things gonna happen. One, smoke is very hot, and that intense amount of heat will make people do a lot of different things. Not to mention, breathing in that smoke, you're depriving your brain of oxygen. So of course, when you're depriving your brain of oxygen, you won't be able to think clearly. So even if you've been in this house for 50 years, you could breathe in and take in a couple breaths, maybe sometimes one or two breaths of that smoke, and you get disoriented and you have no idea where you are and how to get out. And that's honestly what catches a lot of people. And one of the things that a lot of people don't know is that smoke kills people long before the fire actually gets to you. Wow. By the time the fire gets to you, it's whatever was going to happen has already been done. The damage is done by the smoke, not by the fire. So you definitely want to make sure you get away from that smoke as fast as you can. So that's usually what happens with people inside those houses.
Wow. To give us a visual, just so people really internalize that, when you say smoke gets hot, now not the fire, but when you're talking about the smoke gets hot. What are some of the temperatures we're dealing with?
I mean, I've been in fires up to 700 degrees. I mean,
wow.
I've been in, so I mean, yeah, not even, I've been in fires hotter than your normal preset for your oven. So it's hot.
You said hotter than the setting for your oven.
Yeah, the preset for your oven. I mean, I've been in some very hot fires.
Wow.
Times where I'm checking. I'm trying to make sure everything's still there, So
and you have on fire retardant equipment.
So that is all. That's also so that's a great way you put it, fire retardant, because a lot of people think that it's fire resistant. It's not fire resistant. It's fire retardant, and set to a certain degree. My first thing that will fail on me will be my radio and my face mask. I want to say it fails at 800 degrees. I've heard stories of some of the old firefighters who have been in fires and don't think that they're gonna make it out, where their face mask was made of plexiglass, and they've said they've seen it, warp. So
wow,
it's to be inside of a fire. It's with the help of my equipment, I'd be terrified. And honestly, to be inside of a fire, if I slowed down and really thought about it, I mean, it's still terrifying to this day because it's so hot. It's completely black. I mean, you can't see through smoke. And I don't know if everybody knows that. Smoke, you can't see through. You might as well close your eyes trying to crawl through it. And a lot of times while I'm fighting fire, my eyes are closed. So because I try and depend on my other senses more than my vision. So
Wow.
Yeah.
That's intense. So I mean, just what you've been saying, it really highlights what you started. Fire prevention in another light. It's best to not even have to deal with these situations and scenarios by just having a few things that you mentioned. You talked about watching the burners. You talked about having a fire extinguisher in place. You talked about having a plan in place. You talked about the CO2 and having the smoke detectors in place. Now, sometimes people experience electrical fires. Now, what are some of the things that people can be aware of to prevent those?
So electrical fires, a lot of times that stuff comes from just wiring getting old. Maybe you can have some electricians come out and check your electrical, those outlets. If those outlets are getting old, you go ahead and change them out. Careful. I know a lot of us do it. When we see an outlet and we're like, well, there's no other outlets right here, but I need to plug in more than two things. So we go and we buy those, the four plug outlets. We plug into one and then we plug down another one. Those outlets are meant 8 different electrical devices. And then sometimes, we'll plug up things that a lot of power. So if things aren't, I don't want to get too technical, but if things aren't put a GFI outlet where they'll blow that socket so that it doesn't continue to pull that electrical current, it could heat up and catch fire that way. So a lot of times we're overcharging our outlets, and sometimes we just have old wiring in the walls. So just make sure your electricals are taken care of, and make sure that we're not overloading our outlets.
Beautiful, beautiful. Man, we could probably spend hours talking about this, and I know you do trainings in the community, and you're constantly trying to make people aware of this. Especially, I've seen some pictures, especially with our children. That is very vital. Since, from what I read, definitely children and our elders usually become some of the quickest victims of fire. But I want to segue into your other work, the EMS work. And particularly, I want to talk about a conversation that you and I have had, and I had never even thought of it until you brought it up. And once you brought it up, honestly, I can't stop thinking about it because in the Black community in particular, all over the country, in every city, we're suffering by our own hands. We're dying and we're murdering one another, and you see the homicides rate rising within our communities. But when you and I were talking, you brought to my attention, one, we're dying by our own hands. But the topic that you brought up the topic that we're dying from the lack of our own hands and knowing what to do. I think this is very critical. Can you kind of shed some light on the conversation that we had?
Absolutely. So so of course, you and I, we have our normal discussion about, our community, how we can better it. So of course, it kind of started to hit me recently when I hear about all these shootings and all this stuff happening. And I recently took a class called Stop the Bleed. And in this class, I learned pretty much how to stop bleeding. I mean, I had already been doing it, but this is more of a slow the bleed, stop the bleed until more help comes. Mm-hmm. And while I was taking this class, it dawned on me, this needs to be community. And of course, I think of what I see is a lot of times when our people are shot in the streets, we're not helping, we're filming it. We got our cell phones up and we're screaming and we're found helpless. And like I told you, a lot of these deaths are preventable. There's a lot of times these people are shot in the leg where if we were able to get a tourniquet on it and stop that bleeding, the person could survive. Skills to curb these numbers. We can talk about the violence, and of course we know that that's an issue. But while that is an issue, we also need to be able to do the things that we can do, and when situations occur, so that we can do stuff. We never know when stuff is going to happen. I always keep a med bag in my truck. There's been times where I've had to use it. My children know I'll pull my truck over. When I see people down, and I see it, where we live. So when I see it, we have to be able to have these skills to be able to help our community. We can't talk about helping our community, but without gaining these skills to actually, whether it's this or any other skill.
Wow. And I know it may be hard to estimate, but just based on your experience and based on your knowledge, if you were to think about a percentage of our young brothers and sisters that are dying in the street, if you can give a rough percentage of how many we might have been able to save just by having knowledge. And then we want to go into the knowledge that you should have.
I bet I would say 75 to 80% we'd be able to save.
Wow. 75 to 80% of the homicides that are happening in our community, if we have basic knowledge, and if I can use your language, basic knowledge on just how to stop the bleed until more help comes, those are brothers and sisters that we could possibly still have with us.
Absolutely.
That is eye-opening, brother. That means if you have a city that has 300 homicides, that die, say, from gunshot wounds, and then what you're looking at is roughly 225 of them could have been saved just by having knowledge on what to do. Now, when you speak of the knowledge and you talk about stopping the bleed, and I hope everybody out there is listening and watching, what are some of the basic skills that we should learn to become proficient in so that we can help our brothers and sisters if we somebody's always there, right?
Absolutely. So first thing you do, if you were very interested, you can log on to their website. That's where I got my instructors. It's Stop the Bleed. I want to say .org.com. But that's where I got my instructor. The class is completely free. And now that since we're in a pandemic, they've gone virtual. So if anybody's interested, you can do that. I would recommend it. But if you find yourself in a situation where something has happened, say a gunshot, we want to be able to get some type of maybe a shirt, something onto that wound, and we want to apply pressure as hard as we can. It's going to hurt, and whoever that person is hurt, they need to know it's going to hurt. So we need to put pressure on wherever that wound is. Now, if the bullet went through both sides, we need to put pressure on both sides, not just one, because of course it'll just flow out the back. But we need to completely cover that up. Now that is if it's on the limbs. If it's on the limbs, we want to, of course, cover it up. And if there's more people there, and if the person that's shot can help, they can cover it up. While you could take a belt or you could take something and create a tourniquet and tie it, what's called high and tight. If I was shot in the arm, you want to go high and tight here, and tightness, tight as you can, because what you want to do is you want to cut off flow. So not at the elbow. So here, you want to cut off flow. You have a really big artery that's flowing there. So what you want to do is you want to cut off flow to that. So the same on your leg up into your genital area. So you want to go right up in there and get that as tight as you possibly can. Hold that as tight, and it's going to be very uncomfortable for that person. But the goal is to stop the bleeding, and that's what will happen. Now, if somebody is shot in the chest, then all we could do is cover it up. You can't really put a tourniquet, of course, there, so you just want to cover it up. If you have foil or saran wrap, that works best, because what you want to do is you want to completely cover it up without trying to get too technical. What you don't want air sucking into that chest cavity or the abdominal. So anywhere in the box is what we call it: chest, abdomen, also the back. If you can find some type of foil, plastic, Ziploc bag to cover that up, just keep it covered up so that air doesn't seep into that, and just keep that pressure on there. And that's, you do that and you make that call to 911, or if you're closer to drive, do what you got to do to get there. But we have to be able to stop that bleeding. Now, if a person is stabbed, or that kind of changes it. Now, if you're stabbed and the knife is still there, don't pull that out, because you pull that out, you're just reopening that wound. If somebody is stabbed with something, then you want to leave that there. You want to just secure it, because that in itself is creating a tourniquet. So it's stopping the bleeding while it's still there. You pull that out, and now everything's open. So somebody's stabbed or impaled with something, leave it there, and just call 911 or transport if you can.
Wow. Again, this information is very critical. And what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that the website that you gave, that we have this, we're going to put it right there on the screen, because it's important, especially given the numbers that we were talking about. It's important that people become familiar with just this base knowledge. And we're not gonna keep you too long to your duties. We know you're on duty right now, and at any moment something could happen, and you could be pulled away. But I'm going to tell you, this is not our last time having a conversation, because being a subject matter expert in this area, in a critical area that all of us should know information about. You're dealing with fires, and you're dealing with the anatomy and emergency services. We can't get enough training in those areas. And so, brother Talib, I really do appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule. And again, for those of you all, if you're not familiar with this is Beyond the Mat, we want to make sure that you subscribe to Grandmaster Abdulaziz Muhammad's his YouTube channel, which you can find on YouTube at Grandmaster Anthony Muhammad, as well as Facebook. You can find him, Grandmaster Anthony Muhammad, and as well, you can find the National Training at NOINTC on Facebook and Instagram as well. Brother, thank you very much. And again, I want to give a shout out to you and your beautiful, lovely family. We appreciate look at that smile, everybody. We appreciate all the work that you do. Brothers and sisters, again, we want to give thanks for the push and the inspiration from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and for the leadership of the Nation of Islam, our Supreme Captain, Student Supreme Captain, and National Trainer of the Nation of Islam. We appreciate all the leadership. Again, this has been another episode of Beyond the Mat. Thank you all for tuning in. May Allah bless you all. Assalamu alaikum. Peace, my brother. Thank you for joining us.
Peace, my brother.